Fringe North podcast series. So each episode will have some exciting guests from our amazing community of performers and creators who will give us an inside look into both their lives as artists and what they're bringing to the festival this season. Hello, bonjour, Annie. Hello.
This week, I'm so excited to be joined by Jeffery Wright from the Waybacks. Jeffery, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you for having me.
So I'd like to start out each episode with how you would describe yourself as an artist. I'm assuming from what I've seen, you're a musician and you dabble in theater. You're also a painter, but how do you describe yourself?
Like an emotional roller coaster. I don't know if there's really artistic, right? So I do whatever I need to do to create, and I need to get that creative outlet out. So yes, I do. I write my own songs. I also have written a couple books, and one I'm working on. I do oil paintings, like landscape stuff, similar to like the Bob Ross kind of thing, but my own style. And yeah, music, just lots and lots of music. I've taken on a career as a musician full time. So
that's amazing. Congratulations. So you are a founder of the Waybacks. Can you tell the audience a little bit of like how that started and kind of describe what the Waybacks are?
All right, yeah. So the Waybacks kind of started from another situation. So there was the West End Theatre Project in Sault Ste. Marie that put on a show called $1 Million Quartet, where I played the role of Johnny Cash. And there was my lead guitarist, Liam Seymour, who played Carl Perkins, amongst a few others. But Marshall Jaskalainen played the bass for that show, and then Jamie Jocks played the drums for that show. And afterwards, when the show was finally done, we all kind of just thought, like, we need to keep this going somehow. And I said, okay, let's do that then. I wrote a brand new show. It's called Hurt, a tribute to the legend Johnny Cash. And it's a theatrical production that we've put on, and we've toured down Southern Ontario with it now, and we're coming back up to Richard's Landing September 28th, and then we are in Sault Ste. Marie again November 4th at the White Pines Theatre Center there. So the group has kind of formed together, and as a result, we're a band. So we work really well together. We're a bunch of children basically that just play instruments, and we get along really well. And then we also like to have some, how do I put it? Like, we got to babysit each other, because, like, again, we're children. We just like to have too much fun. That's really what's happening. So, and the band is really good. We sound really good. We play a lot of that older Johnny Cash stuff. We play like that, actually all over the place. I do some of my own originals through the group as well, and we just have a lot of fun playing.
That's awesome. So is this your first time performing for Fringe North?
Yeah, this is actually, the band's only been a year old. So we just celebrated our 1-year anniversary last week, which is, I can't even remember what week we're on, so that doesn't really help me much, but I know it was last week. Facebook told me. So we're a relatively new band, but we're headlining for Canada Day at the Bondar Pavilion, so we're doing really good things. We're moving along real quick.
Yeah, that's amazing. Congratulations. So how has the touring been? How does the touring?
So I do everything myself.
But, sorry,
go ahead.
Oh, I was just
saying that touring is stressful.
Touring is stressful, yeah. And you manage the band as well, like you kind of coordinate the touring schedule and whatnot.
So, yeah, I do all of it. I'm terrible with scheduling. I found that out real quick. But for the band itself, like touring, it's interesting because you have to coordinate everything from how we're going to get down there, who's carpooling with who, what vehicles are we taking? We're taking a trailer to load all the instruments and the rental stuff that we use. And now the show that we do, like specifically for the Hurt show, I have my own sound technician that comes with us, my own stage manager that comes with us, and we all just work together. So for the theater stuff, I'm the director as well as the band manager, coordinator, the whole thing. So it is a lot of work. I do all the promotionals. I make all of our own posters. I get a guy that I know, Jamie Lamon, who does all of our printing. And we just really work to put it all out there. And then I try to get as many contacts as I can to help me out in the faraway places and say, please put these posters up and see what we can do. And we've had really good success so far.
That's awesome. So how does the touring differentiate, or the experience performing differ between, say, Southern Ontario and Northern Ontario?
Well, right now, the model for what we're doing is actually focusing on smaller communities, and there's not really a huge difference between smaller communities. Like we did Blind River, Elliott Lake, we're doing Richards Landing. Sault Ste. Marie's pretty well the biggest that we're trying to go for. Next year, we're lining up for the bigger one, so I'll have more of an idea as to what's so different between the bigger city type people and groups that we're looking at, opposed to the smaller groups that are majority farmers. I find that most people are incredibly kind, very patient. Our group we play a lot of older stuff. We target a lot of older people, so they're a lot more relaxed and not really getting too rowdy and jumping all over, which is good. Keeps us more than happy to keep playing for them. But we haven't really noticed a huge difference. I haven't anyways. Just everybody seems to be that working class. You get down and dirty, and that's the type of lifestyle they live, and they go and listen to good music and they really enjoy it.
That's great to hear. So you mentioned that you have a bit of theater in the performance, in the Hurt Johnny Cash tribute. How do you incorporate theater in the performance?
So Hurt is about senior Johnny Cash in his older years has flashback memories of two past fictional performances. And the role has been typecast for my dad because he's of that age and he has that baritone voice to sing. And so he gets up and he does this backstage waiting. And as he's just reflecting and going back in time with his guitar. Where then I play the younger Johnny Cash, and we have a performance where we do a series of songs that was before he got married to June Carter. And June Carter comes out when they're all on tour with each other. And they do a few duets, and then she's off the stage again, and then it just finishes that set. We have a break. We come back. It's a similar feel where he's having more flashback memories. And this time he's now the man in black. He's doing the big performance, and he's been married, and it's June Carter comes back out, and I play the role of younger Johnny Cash, and Maggie Lee does the role of June Carter, whereas my dad, George Wright, is playing senior Johnny Cash. And it's just, we're not ourselves, we're those people in the moment. So the mannerisms are there, the songs are there, the accents we try to carry out as best we can, and we put on a really good show. I remember the one we did at the Moose Lodge in the Sioux last year, December. This older woman comes up, she takes my hands and cups my hand like that, and she goes, I saw Johnny Cash twice in my life. And I'm like, oh dear, now I'm having a panic attack almost, right? She goes, I gotta say, you guys did amazing. And I was like, oh, feel really good after you hear that, right? So
no kidding,
but
that's amazing.
So the theater side of it is we're playing characters, and we're touching on a lot of the life milestones of Johnny Cash's life. And it is an emphasis on Johnny Cash himself. It is a tribute to him in a theatrical sense. Whereas I hire my band, the four of us, myself, Marshall Jaspeline, and Liam Seymour, and Jamie Jocks, as the waybacks. I hire us as the band to back up the show. So then I bring on the two additional actors. And for Fringe specifically, we're playing just as the band. So we're doing a lot of different covers, not just the Johnny Cash, but we'll be doing a lot of the older stuff that we really, really like as well.
Really great. That's awesome to hear. Yeah, I'm excited to check it out for sure. How did you get into music, and or theater? It sounds like there's a lot going on creatively. I'm just kind of wondering how you got your start. Was it in Sault Ste. Marie?
Yeah, mostly. So actually, the very first time I ever stepped on stage to play guitar was down in Gravenhurst. It was at my dad was doing a wedding, and we were down there, and they just had it was for a musician, old musician friend of his. And so they said, "Do you want to do a song or two?" And I went, "Sure." And I got up and played a couple of Johnny Cash tunes. And that was the first time I ever debuted on a stage, and it was a really good time. It was basically two truck trailers, like flatbed trailers, in somebody's backyard, and they had like the wildest speakers and drums, and it was really cool. But I've been playing. I started playing when I was 13 years old. My dad got me a blue guitar that I still own, and that's way too long ago. And it was I just sat down and started playing and learning from him because he used to play like George Wright and Buckshots, or the band was Road Fever. He played with like Rick Datz and a lot of different Dean Drebbit, quite a few people. Um, anyway, he was a huge influence musically for me, and so I started around 13 years old, and I'd been playing music since. I up and down with it. At one point, it took me to I used to play with the Great Northern Opry a little bit, and somebody there took me down to Nashville, and we met a bunch of cool people like Johnny Cash's son, John Carter Cash. That was wild.
Yeah.
And then musically, it's been fantastic. But I focused more actually over the years on my artwork and painting, and I've got pieces sold down southern United States, Toronto, Saskatchewan, like pieces sold all over. And then I kind of fell back into music when I started hating my day job, and I said I'm doing this full time because I'd rather be poor and happy than have money and miserable.
Yeah.
That's that's my music career so far.
Well, congratulations. That takes a lot of guts and obviously talent to go there.
Well, I've been playing for 20, well, yeah, 23 years. I've been playing music 23 years.
Yeah.
And I'd say about 20 of it I've been on stage playing off and on.
So would you say that yeah, the music side in terms of writing music and performing music, you're equally as comfortable?
I well, comfortable. That's an interesting question. I'm not sure comfort has much to do with it as much as needing to get my creative outlet. I'm a highly social person. I need human interaction, bottom line. Just the last Saturday, I volunteered at the Alzheimer's Society to do some singing and entertaining, and I had these people up and dancing, and they had to come and tell me how amazing it was. So I'm comfortable on stage. I'm comfortable playing music. I'm comfortable in a band. I'm comfortable doing whatever it is I need to do to just be near people and entertaining, specifically entertaining. When it comes to writing, I have 53 songs I've written that I'm sitting on. That one of them has actually been recorded and is out there. It's called I Know It's Wrong, but that one is more of a personal one I did for my brother-in-law had passed away. And the other songs I'm currently working with the girl that plays June Carter for me, Maggie Lee. We're doing quite a few duets and working on a lot of brand new stuff. It's got that old feel, but it's new. And like it's all about the creativity. Like sometimes it's 2 o'clock in the morning, I got to write something down because it's just in my head and I need to express it somehow. And so once I get it out, I feel a lot better, and they just keep flowing and flowing and flowing. So it's not comfort. It's more of a need or passion to definitely get it out there.
I get that. Yeah, that makes sense. It's interesting to hear. Some people are drawn to making and performing because of your, like what you're saying, just the desire to connect with people. And I know some folks they don't feel as comfortable performing. It's like a nerve-wracking experience, but it's kind of the end result, right? That they feel.
Yeah,
Sorry,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
I cut you off. I do that. I'm sorry.
It's all good. Yeah, maybe so like the end of the performance, it's like a release. It's a like an accomplishment kind of thing, but it doesn't get easier.
No.
But yeah, it sounds like you're really excited to perform and to be on stage?
It's one of those things that for me, it goes beyond a passion. It's like it's a absolute need. If I don't get it, I feel down. It it's definitely an adrenaline rush because you're getting in front of people, but there's a difference between like if you go play somewhere, and they're not they expect like a live band, but they're not expecting anybody. The trick is to try to draw those people in so that they're watching you, so that they're not just there to be there, they're there to watch you. So last year, Rotary Fest, we did like a Friday at a not the best time. It was just a time. I can't remember what time. It was like 4 or something. And we got up on stage, and I convinced some of the other guys from the Million Dollar Quartet, Leo Moore and Tom Peer, to join me on stage, along with my other friend Chelsea Vossas. And I said, "This is what we're going to do, and I'm going to put on not just like music. I'm going to put on a show for them." And we did. And we were asked, like, "You guys need a headline. You were phenomenal." And we kept hearing it, which was it's great. But then this year we've got Saturday, right opening for the headliners, and again, it's going to be a fantastic time. We've got several different songs we're going to do, but I'm still bringing some of the same guys up, but I've got Maggie Lee instead of Chelsea, and it's going to be a show because I have to entertain. It has to be big, and I don't. Music should be enjoyed by everybody. And when we did Rotary last year, there was maybe 20 some people in the audience when we started, and there was well over 100 when we finished that set, and it's only 45 minutes. So they heard and they came because they could tell that there's something there. And we had people asking for songs, and I'm like, "Well, we're just playing. We have our set list." So we ended up playing one song for them, but it's still, for me, that's where I get my feed. It's just I need it. It fills me.
That's amazing. So you put out the energy and you get it back from the audience. That's
Yeah.
like a huge part of community. And how would you describe the art scene in Sault Ste. Marie?
I personally, there's never enough. I couldn't care how if everybody in Sault Ste. Marie, all 70 whatever thousand people, all did art. I still don't think there's enough. There's not enough art and music in the world. There needs to be more. It needs to be way more. Just because expression of yourself in that kind of medium is so important. It can encourage and build other people up. It can make people more emotional. It can drive something brand new in somebody else. It can inspire kids. It gives people purpose. And if you think like a lot of people who work their entire careers, they get to retirement and they finally pick up a hobby like painting that they never realized they loved oil painting, or they play guitar now and they get out and do these things. And it's like you waited your whole life to do something you've always wanted to do. That makes no sense. Like it's just, to me, there's not enough. And I think that, I mean, there can always be improvement in what's going on. I love the push that some of these people like Ali Moore with the city is doing to really try to drive the arts and culture of Sault Ste. Marie. I know what I'm doing is I want to bring more of it, not just through myself, but I want to be a part of it in a bigger sense to really drive something amazing in Sault Ste. Marie. I love what Fringe is doing, bringing out the expression of the theater as well as the music, and wherever you can get your hands on to say, here's an expression of more culture of what we need in our town. And it's beautiful. Like you can't ask for anything better, honestly.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm, a huge lover of the arts, and I'm a painter myself. I
What do you
play some
do?
music too. Yeah, I paint landscape paintings like oil and acrylic and watercolor.
Nice.
So yeah, I understand what you're saying when you're saying like the desire, the need to create is totally there too. And yeah, I guess I'm kind of curious in terms of comparing maybe your painting career and your music career. Do you feel as though they're separate, or do you take inspiration from both? Like, how do they differ?
That's question, eh? Hmm. Two different parts of your brain. That's for sure. So I can be a touch impatient when it comes to my paintings. I like to have the end result the way I want it, and I want it now. And so I don't rush through them, but I'll take my time and do what I want. However, the way I do it, I do quicker style paintings. Like it's they're not highly detailed, and I don't want them to be. I want them to be what I did. And for my music, it's just something that flows in a totally different capacity. And so if there is any similarities, it's that I can still express what I want through what I'm doing. I like to capture with my oil paintings where I've been, or where I've, like, they're not real places. I paint places that don't exist, but I paint rather places that you feel like you've been before. So one of like the real rough waves of Lake Superior, I've done a painting like that where you can see the depth of the cold water, but really you don't see any of it. It's just like some choppy, ugly waves on a canvas. And when you look at it though, that's where I'm drawn. And I've sold, because of it, like I've sold quite a few, which is exciting for me. Because I've never really been to push it too much. I just like, hey, I did this, hey, I did this, and people buy them. I've never been afraid to like just get out there and say like, notice what I'm doing. I really think you should have more of this in your life. And it's never been like, hey, look at me, I'm amazing, you should give me all your attention. Though some people think that's what I'm doing it for. But it's not. It really is just because I have to express what it is I'm doing. And I think that the world could benefit from it in some way, I hope. Right.
Yeah, I'm sure many people take inspiration from that. And, for the people that say, oh, you're doing anything for attention, it's like the energy, the emotion, the ups and downs that creativity, that creating something of your own takes, it can be exhausting. And so to those folks, I would say, you should try it, and you'll know that it's not for attention.
No.
Yeah. So I guess, do you have any ups and downs with your creativity? Like, do you ever get writer's block, or have you ever had any moments in your life where you kind of felt like quitting, and how did you work through that?
Yes. And like artist way, like my art, I did which is Sylvan Circle. And after I did that, and I did the whole let's have it up there, sold a few paintings. I wasn't expecting to sell any. I didn't enjoy it. And it's not because the people were all of that. It was just, that's not my scene. I'm my art shouldn't be done that way. If we do something like that, it should be for individuals who are seeking out art in the style that I paint. It shouldn't be for a display. Hey, come look at. Um, so I guess because of the whole experience, like I've slowed down and I picked up music more, but I still paint. I get out there when I can. It's just not as frequent. So I'll do one painting once every few months. And that's if I'm in the mood, and that's mood wise. So getting over it, it's right now I'm getting my creative outlet through my music, through my writing, through my learning of new songs, meeting new people. Musically, I don't have a writer's block, never experienced it, because I think there's too much going on in everybody's lives. Like I've written songs for my wife, I've written songs about my children. So I have two kids. I've been married for the last too long. No, that's not true. No, we've been married not long enough, to be honest. She's an amazing person, highly patient, and tolerating me immensely, which is amazing. But I think honestly, musically and creatively, I never mind. Let's edit that out, eh? Creatively, music and the art, writing, my books, stuff like that. There's no block necessarily. It's just how much do I want to do it right now? And to get through it, if you want something bad enough, you just push for it. Like I quit guitar for almost 2 years that I didn't touch it. I just sat and I thought, that's stupid. Turned around, picked it up, and since then, and that was 4 years ago that I picked it back up, and it's been an absolutely wild ride. Took a band from being brand new to accomplishing a lot more than I thought I could ever do in a year.
That's amazing. It sounds like you're not too hard on yourself, which I think kind of shies a lot of people away from going back and delving back into what they love. At least that's from what I hear, kind of my perception of it.
Yeah.
Which is, yeah, I think Yeah, I think that's a struggle that a lot of artists do have, is just kind of needing perfection or needing to see something right away and not kind of going through the process. But
immerse yourself into the arts at Fringe North Festival in Sault Ste. Marie. Enjoy theater, music, multi-arts adventures like no other, interactive kids activities in a beautiful historic city with nature at your fingertips and multicultural cuisine. Come join us. Plan your visit this August.
So you're, as an artist yourself, perfection, like that's just, it's a load of crap. Yeah, it is. Like there's no such thing as perfection. The greatest artists in the world didn't do a perfect job. I don't like, it's, they did the job and they did it their style, they did it their way. And you look around some of the immaculate pieces that people have done, like some of the carvings that people do out of marble, like currently, not talking about, Michelangelo or anything like that. I'm talking like still nowadays people carving out of marble, and they do beautiful work, and it's still to them not perfect. So it's a subjective perspective. Like it's perfection is just not really a perfect thing to begin with. Like I'm not in any way, shape, or form a perfect person. I've been married 13 years, with her for half her life, which is 17 years now. I met her when she was 17. So I mean, I've got two great kids. They're absolutely amazing. And again, I'm not a perfect dad. I'm not a perfect husband. I'm not, it's just an unattainable, idealistic view on something when perfection doesn't need to exist. It needs to have the flaws that add your signature to what it is you're doing. Like my songs aren't perfect, but those are my signatures. My artwork's not perfect, but it's my signature to what I do. It's my style. So that's me. That's what makes me. The imperfections are what's perfect about it. So if that's how you want to view it, there's no such thing. And for yourself, I'm sure when you're doing a painting, you look at it and you go like, it's not quite right, but I like it. Or you're at the end of it and you're like, that's perfect. It's literally just your idea of what you think it should be. And if somebody else sees it, I've painted garbage, absolute garbage. And I had this kid come up at a garage sale and I put my painting up. And he's like, that's the best painting I've ever seen. I'm like, want it? $10. Here you go. you know? And like an artist, we sell our paintings for like $200, $300, $400 or more, right? So for $10, like that, I lost money on the canvas and paint itself. Here you go. And the kid is more than happy. And that's what art is to people. It's what speaks to you. It's not about perfection because everyone sees things differently.
yeah, I totally agree with you on that one. I think when I was thinking of perfection, I think the feeling of getting it right. Like obviously everyone's idea of what is good is subjective. And yeah, that's been debated for, years and years. Philosophers, Immanuel Kant, whatever. Like you have people debating what is good, what is, objective or subjective. But I think there is a feeling of getting it right, and it's kind of, I think the journey of trying to say what you want to say through your art is what, to me, like what that perfection is. And it's never quite having the answers, never quite getting there, but you're kind of on this journey that, hopefully at
Maybe
some
it's
point.
more, like maybe it's more of a professionalism rather than a perfectionism. So it's holding yourself to a standard and always trying to raise that standard. Like musically, I'm not the best musician, so I do obviously hold myself to a standard. I can be really hard on myself. So you made a comment earlier about how I'm not, because I work hard not to be. But I can hold myself. I'm not a good enough musician, so why not just go and get more guitar lessons? Or what can I do to better myself, like playing guitar to a click track, which if anybody's ever done that to a metronome, that metronome is about to go flying through a window because it drives you nuts, but at the same time, it's a necessary evil that you have to work with. And being a professional means you have to raise that bar. You have to bring the top quality performance you can to any venue that you're playing or any any place that you've presented yourself creatively, right?
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. That's some great advice that, not only myself, but I'm sure a lot of listeners will take. So you did mention a little bit about practice. How does that look like in your daily life? Like, how do you practice? Well, I guess this is kind of a two-part question. How do you practice, and then how do you
Okay.
write songs? Like, how does the inspiration come, and is it more musically inspired, or do you start with the lyrics first?
Well, let's answer the practice part. Practice is practice. I'd never make it a job. If practice becomes a job, I'll do it less. I think that's because we typically, as people, are misers of energy. So when we feel that we're expelling our energy, we're just not going to get into it. And if we're not going to get into it, then like, why do it? So for me to keep it as a fresh, creative perspective for me, practice comes with I want to learn this song. So I have a set list with Maggie and a set list with the Waybacks, where we're working through some really good tunes. I'm doing a cover of my dad's song, one of my dad's songs that he had written way back in the 80s, 70s, somewhere around there. And I'm trying to practice it on my own, but then I get the group together for rehearsals and we practice then. And I dance around and I joke and we have a lot of fun. And then the drummer there has to keep us on track. It's just a fun time. But it is about just practicing is about putting yourself at a measure to get back into something, but making it fun. Like it cannot be a chore. We don't want to do chores. We want to have fun. And so that's, for me, that's a big thing. And to make it fun, really, just for me, is getting into the idea that I want to learn the song. I want to play the music with the band. I want to be really good at what I do. And if it's a desire, then the practice is more of just a fun pastime. Now to write, typically I alternate, honestly, between either starting with verses. If I have a song that I really need to get the point across, like I wrote a song that I haven't actually even recorded on and played like for on the phone or anything for social media. But it's a subject that's hit home a little bit with people that I know and that have gone on some things. It's a little bit more extreme, but it's about a woman who becomes physically abused, and it's a person not taking the steps to stand up for them, but kind of like chickens out. And as a result, her life ends in the song, and he just beats himself up at the end of it. It's a real depressing song, but it's a song that just needed to get off my chest because, like, I know people in my life, because I've worked in the social work field and things like that, where things happen that just suck and are just not good. Like sometimes the world is dirty, and that needed to get out. A good example is "I Know It's Wrong," the song that I wrote and recorded. That's on like Spotify and all the major places. It is about drug abuse, is what it is, 100%. And it's hopefully a message for people to know that they don't want to be in the position they're in. They want out, but sometimes they slip up and it's gone. It's too late now. They have a headstone rather than they have just a high. And that's where for me, it's like, those are serious subjects. I also write those really little love songs. It's just whatever inspires me. And I typically start with the lyrics there. But if there is something that I want to emit an emotion without the words, that's where I dig into the guitar and just start pumping out chords. And I find out which ones hit the mood I want. And then all of a sudden the words just flow after. Right.
Yeah,
I'd say they're almost tied. I'd say 50-50.
That's it. That's interesting. I think that kind of speaks to country music in terms of your, willingness to talk about some difficult topics, but then also write some love songs.
Oh, I have to. Yeah. And it's not about loving the truck and then going for the honky tonks and blah, blah, blah. No, I don't do that. But
no, that
it is
old school
it is
country.
about love.
Yeah.
It's we're talking like the stuff I write is very similar to a lot of that old Johnny Cash kind of thing, or Willie Nelson, Merle Haggard, all of those real old guys. They were storytellers, right? And they didn't just tell a story in a way that's like from start to finish with like necessarily. They told the emotions of a story. Like Merle Haggard has this one where the prisoner was being led down the hallway, and as he is, he says, "Sing me back home," and he says that to the guy, other prisoner, and it's such a powerful song in the way he wrote it. And like sometimes I feel that music, newer country music, tends to miss that emotion that's behind it. It's no longer as emotional. It's missing something. And it's not to say all of them. It's just a few of them that you hear that you're just like, it doesn't got it. It doesn't have that real grit that you should hear and feel in a song. It's just lyrics with somebody's music, and it's just there. And it's like, man, that's good background music. It's not necessarily something I want to listen to. I'm not to pick on, that can be any genre. I'm not trying to pick on anything. It's just an observation.
Yeah, no, I get that. I think that happens, like you said, in every genre and also in every art form, when it becomes a little commercial, right? When you kind of start using
Yeah.
the idea of country music or, you know, landscape painting or abstract expressionism, and that you kind of get on the bandwagon of the idea of it and using it for your commercial success instead of like actually trying to say something that's really personal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it takes courage to, you know, be real and to be honest. And I guess now I kind of want to talk about, you did mention practicing with the band. How has the dynamic been with your band, the Waybacks? And you've already kind of touched on that it's a lot of fun. But do you guys learn from each other? Like, what does everyone bring to the table?
So I have a bit of a philosophy. I'd say I'd kind of stole it over the years, I suppose, but it's never be the best in the room. So if you're at the bottom of the barrel and everyone else is a better performer, better whatever than you have to elevate yourself to meet their level, right? They won't stoop to your level because you can't go backwards on your ability and on your skills and on your talents. You have to elevate yourself to meet that level. So I've got a lot of practice in for 20 years of playing guitar, right? And I have good experiences playing in front of huge crowds to little crowds and learning to work with audience. And what I bring to the table, I compliment the group absolutely, but these guys have had, like, Jamie's had songs on the radio for my drummer there, and Marshall was with the Wild Turkeys and toured Europe and all over the place, and he's made an amazing living with music. And then there's Liam Seymour. I mean, if anybody knows who that guy is, he's a phenomenal guitar player, and like they're all high class players. I found probably the best group I could ever find or ask for, and getting along with each other. It's any relationship, you got to work at it, and sometimes you just click, sometimes you don't. And these guys, I feel like we just click. We work really, really well together. We have our differences. That's human nature. You can't sit in a room with somebody for an extended period of time with being like, wow, you're kind of annoying me right now. And I'm sure they feel that way with me because I can sometimes be a bit much. I like to steamroll things on occasions, personality wise. So that being said, though, I'm always quick to listen, take a moment, let them say what they need to say. They are the most respectful group I've ever met, where they recognize like it's my band, right? So their input will be to better the group, but they're not taking the lead on it. That's my responsibility. And I really appreciate how they've come together as a group dynamically to say, like, we're here to support you. We will do what you need us to do. Where do you want us? And it just makes the relationship better when you're willing to work together that way, right?
Cool. That's cool. And were you in any other bands prior to the Waybacks? I'm assuming you've.
No, actually,
Oh, really?
no, I did a lot of Jeffery Wright solo stuff. I've played with bands, got up and jammed with a bunch of guys on stage and things like that. Great Northern Opry was one when it was still run by Dave Patterson in the Sioux. That was years ago. And I just kind of did these little small gigs, never really did any major bar kind of stuff or like any of that kind of thing until later. And then when I met these guys, I was like, all right, let's play. What do I do? And they're like, here, we got some connections. Why don't you start calling? Okay. Then we had gigs. And I said, I don't really like these places. They're there to have fun with their friends. They're not there to listen to a band. So I built an entire idea of let's just put on our own shows. So we've got like we're right now working on a concert for Echo Bay. I did this Hurt show. Me and Maggie are working on a different show, theater type style show that we're working to put together. We're I'm shifting gears to do like a Jeffery Wright, Maggie Lee. Where I still have a band, still have the same guys backing me, but we're not doing it as the wave acts. We're now doing it as like a solo act for more of the originals and less of the covers that we've been doing. So mostly it's just about a lot of fun, and musically I just think I never really had the band until now, and I never had a desire in the past to have that band until now.
Yeah,
I don't regret it.
That's great. It's inspirational for people, especially if they're young, thinking like, okay, I need to do this now. I need to make this work right now. But it can happen kind of organically. And by the sounds of it, the venues might not have been initially the best for you, but you made it work and you kind of created your own opportunities, which is huge. And I think something that artists sometimes need to do in, northern communities.
Well, I get asked by Thunder Bay. I've had people from like Saskatchewan and other places reach out saying, hey man, we would love for you guys to come. We're not in a position to do so. So like my dad retired in 1990 at the age of 35. He retired musically. Like he was a full-time musician, he retired. So he was 35 years old. So when I turned 35, I took music on full-time. I did the complete opposite of what he did. He retired at the time I started. So I have just a burning desire to do this. And it's again to just bring a high level of entertainment to people. Like that's my mission. That's my statement, is to bring the best quality, the best entertainment people could ask for in the genre that I can provide. Right. And it's not just musically. I want to do everything, like from recording to sound production for people, to bringing in different bands, putting on concerts and festivals and shows. And if you want music, you come to me, right? If you want help with music, you come to me. If you want something that's theater, you come to me. Like I've been in the trades 10 years. I know how to build sets. I can renovate and build houses, commercial buildings. It doesn't matter. I can do it all because I need to be active. I need to do stuff, right? So I mean, this musically, the band stuff, this is everything for me now. And I've never sunk myself into something this much. I ran my own drywall business for 5 years and did not put near as much energy into it as I did this. And the return is like financially not the greatest because it's music. Most artists, there's that saying, starving artist. However, I'm pretty sure I've done a lot better than if I were to do it like the traditional sense of playing bars, right? We've done phenomenally, and we're getting calls to play rather than me applying to everywhere to play. So it's a huge turn. Like people are asking like, hey man, you do this music and you're one of the younger groups that no one else is playing this stuff. Like, correct, you need to come play now. You come play today. So I'm going to Elliott Lake just by myself on like a random Tuesday because they asked when we did a show there. They said, can you come? We'll pay you. This is as much as we could pay you. We'd love to pay you more. Like, yeah, I'll take a day trip, I guess, to Elliott Lake. So I'm going in September. It's just, you get calls when you're put the effort in. And I think you touched on something, and I do want to point it out. Age is such a fickle subject. I couldn't care less if you're 17 years old and you haven't a clue as to what you're doing, but you want to play music, go for it. Like you have literally the rest of your life to do this. Go for it. Have as much fun. Just get into it. You're 60, wonderful. Get into it. Like I couldn't care how old you are. That's not an excuse to bring more joy and creativity into this world. And just because you're not for one group doesn't mean you're not for another group either. And like, you just gotta get out there and find what's right and where you fit. And you can't do that unless you're trying it.
Totally. I think that's great advice. And it sounds like you have a lot of energy to do all this, which helps too. That helps a lot.
I don't know. Sometimes it can cause some issues as well, but yes, it does help a bit.
Yeah. So I'm kind of curious about, you mentioned writing a couple books. Do
Yes.
you want to talk a little bit about those?
Do I? Sure. One I wrote is a really poorly written business book because I have a diploma in business marketing. I love business. I love the interactions of business, the business to business type of interactions you have to have. So like for my music and stuff, I go meet with everybody. I go sit down and have coffee because it's just a part of networking. It's what you do. And I wrote a book. I mean, I swear it's the worst written book I've ever read. And I even proofread this thing thinking like, oh, this is genius. And I'm like, half the time I'm reading it now and I'm going over it again. I'm like, what did I even say? Parts of it though are really smart. The rest of it's stupid. I'm not going to tell you the title of it. It's still available on Amazon. But no, it's a bad book, but it is smart, but it's also it's some bad writing. It's just, that was one book. But I am aside from some kid books that like children's books that my wife had written, or I've also written one that I haven't finished the artwork for that I'm publishing. I'm keeping it a really simplistic style artwork to go with the words. And it's called Wanting. It's about a child growing up and always wanting more and more and more, and then recognizing some of the wants were frivolous and some of the wants that you want now you can't have because those people have gone on or they're not there. Like things have changed, and then you get reminded that you really do want this again. So that is coming out, I'd say this hopefully by the end of this year. I'm looking at October to have everything done, and then I can publish it. It'll just be a cheapy book on Amazon books again, like Kindle or whatever it's called. But my other one is this is where my nerd comes out. It's a full-on fantasy novel, and it follows the story of three major characters facing like one of the most cliche kind of evils, and they're like it's a think like medieval Viking style with some magic thrown in there, and it's just they're these three people, and they're all, one's a slave or turned slave, another one is like a warrior, and another one is like I can't even remember exactly what they did. They're just like they exist as a person. They just kind of like all by chance, they don't meet up. Two of them meet up out of the three, but they all are on a very specific quest line. And it's just, one's a kid and his whole village is burned. It's like, it's a fantasy book, and it's good, but I'm rereading it for like probably the 10th time to make sure it's edited properly. So I don't know when I'll have that one out, but I'd love to send it along to an actual publisher and get that genuinely done. We'll see. But that's what I like to write in whatever I am feeling.
Nice. Yeah, that sounds great. It sounds like you have lots going on, and it sounds like a very fulfilling career that you've got going.
So, like the trade-off is for me, like the feelings I get, like my time is not wasted when I'm doing the things I love. Right. So like I mentioned earlier, I'd rather be poor and absolutely ecstatically happy, or joyful. I should use the word joyful because happy is in the moment. Sometimes you're happy, sometimes you're sad, right? But if you find joy, you can find joy in sorrow. You can find joy in hardships. You can like my wife and I, one time when we were early in our relationship, we said to each other, as long as we have coffee and popcorn, we will be good. Nothing can be bad, right? We ran out of coffee and popcorn, and believe it or not, we're still good. So we found joy in each other. We found joy in our relationship. We found joy in the passions that we have. And that's where I am now with the music. And like music, like taking on a career musically is a gamble, right? I am there, like, unless you're doing music for movies and they're playing it constantly, you're not really going to make a lot of money. Unless you're somehow made it and you have stuff on the radio and you're constantly pumping out hits, you're not really making money. Music isn't about money though. Music is about, for me, this the trade-off, the where I get the value and what I really see in the reward is people walk away without a complaint. They're so happy that they got to see that Johnny Cash show, you know, like to the point that people are inviting us, like, you're coming next year again, right? Like, I haven't booked it, but sure. You know, and like people filling the seats, like we've sold the show out, and that, like, twice we've sold that show out, and it's I'm excited. We've already sold 113 was the last I counted for the seats at the White Pines Theater for November, and it's June. 113 seats, and that blows my mind because I wouldn't expect that. And they don't know what they're up against. They don't necessarily know the show because it's only a year old, right? We've hardly been anywhere, and it's just that's the trade-off. Like it's a starving artist, but not. We're so fed with the spirit of it all.
That sounds awesome. It sounds like
You've made me really philosophical today with this whole interview, so I'm just going to apologize for all of that.
no, do not apologize for getting philosophical. I also I like thinking about creativity in the process, and it's always interesting learning how different people navigate, I think it's a good thing to talk about our experiences because people also connect through making, and not just like seeing the performance. Like you can connect with audience members and inspire them, but it's like how did you get there, right? Like I think a lot of artists feel alone in their struggles or in their creativity just because there's really no right way of going about it. But it's interesting hearing from other artists, and hearing how they kind of navigated, navigate their creativity. And I think it's inspiring for a lot of people.
Well, like you touched on it right there. A lot of people, if you're feeling lonely, it's like, and you feel like it's an uphill battle, you feel like you're struggling against something, and sometimes maybe it's the priorities aren't quite right. I find, like, not to really get into the whole medical side of anything here, but the people that are struggling with a lot of anxiety, like I used to struggle with anxiety, depression, and all the fun jazz. I discovered for me that it's because I'm fighting against myself. I'm trying to do things by an expectation of what is out there. And if I'm finding that if my creativity is hitting that point where I am struggling to achieve something, then I'm on the wrong path. That is not what resonates right with me. I need to be entertaining. I need to be building my little empire of music. I need to be involved in the things that truly make me excited. Like, I need those days on the weekend sometimes where I'm just with my family and we're having our own time. Maybe it's a movie night, maybe we're doing whatever, but it's like I have to have that time with my family. I have to have those because that's what resonates with me. And it can vary day to day, as well as in the grand scheme of things. Like, working as a bank manager did not resonate with me. And it's nothing against the bank, it's nothing against with my manager or anybody else that was there involved or the employees. It was me. I wasn't right for the role. And sometimes recognizing that as an individual, maybe you're focusing on the wrong part. Maybe you're trying to do it for a reason that's just not resonating right. Maybe you need to just sit back and try something that makes you so uncomfortable to find where your purpose sits with it. Right.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of wisdom there. So before we wrap things up, how would you describe what the performance will be at Fringe North this summer? What could the audience expect out of the performance?
Lots of oldies, lots of old music, just more of the high energy, Johnny Cash, Merle Haggard, not too much Johnny Cash though. I like to do some like Alabama, or there's, what's another one? There's some Willie Nelson. I got some Bob Seger. There's Elvis. There's that. Like, it's just a ton of really old stuff. I'll throw in a couple originals too, but it's mostly about me bantering back and forth with the audience and really getting to know you guys and who's out there to see and really enjoy what's going on. And I really need I really need that opportunity for everybody to just sit there and have a good time. And if you guys have requests, you can just let me know. I won't play them, but I'm glad you'll let me know. And then we can just have fun playing the music, right? So
Yeah,
I joke.
that sounds like a good time. That sounds like a great time. So if, we have some, I'm sure there'll be viewers checking out this podcast when it comes out. Do you have any social media channels that you would like to plug if there are any people wanting to check out your work?
Yep. Well, let's direct to the best places. You can go to thewaybacks.ca, and that's where you can find all my like specifically more of the Wayback stuff and Hurt Tribute to the Legend Johnny Cash show. It shows the show dates and gives you a blip on what the show is, and it also tells you who the cast members are, the band, the little bios on all of us. I made that website for that. And I also have Jeffery Wright music.ca, which is more of me and what I'm doing individually and how I'm building all of these wonderful things. And I believe I have a link to my art gallery.ca. I think it's my art gallery. No, I can't remember my website. Creative Rights. That's what it is. It's Creative Rights, but WRIGHT, like Creative Rights, like my last name, .ca. Yeah. That's what it is. And so, yeah, and that's where you can find few of my oil paintings. So you can follow the Facebook, all the links for the Facebook and stuff there through the websites. So going there is probably your best bet. Otherwise, you can just find the Waybacks SSM, like Sault Marie, and that's where you'd find us on Facebook, or the _way_backs on Instagram. We're on TikTok. We're everywhere. You find us, YouTube. You can get it.
Nice. Yeah, you're connected.
Well, that's the marketing diploma. I have to be.
Yeah, well, that's great. Well, thanks so much for joining me. And thank you everyone for joining us. Merci, miigwech, gracias. Just a reminder that Fringe North 2024 will be from August 21st to the 25th. Please check out our website and all our social media channels in the description below for more information about Fringe North. And if you want to support all the work that our team is doing here, please consider tipping the Fringe. Your support not only helps us, but it helps emerging artists and the Northern arts. Every dollar counts. You can find the link for that below as well. So we'll be back with another episode next week, and we can't wait to see you then. Thank you so much.
Hooray there. I'm the Heather, the proud mascot of Fringe North 2024. You'll see me swaying in the wind throughout the festival, just like I do in the beautiful shorelines of Manitoulin Island. I'm an artist in my own right, bringing a touch of natural beauty wherever I go. Fringe North is all about celebrating the vibrant arts community in the North. And guess what? 100% of our box office sales goes straight to paying the amazing artists who bring the festival to life. But to keep the magic going, I need your help. If you spot me around the festival, feel free to ask me questions or discover cool facts about Fringe North. And most importantly, tip the Fringe. Your support helps us to continue to bring this incredible festival back year after year. So, want to support Fringe North? Tip the Fringe and let the arts flourish. Remember, Fringe North, expect the unexpected. For more information on how to tip the Fringe, head on over to SueFringe.com.